On the news, National Assembly Standing Committees commence submission of reports on 2024 budget defense.
We want to sustain the tradition, and in sustaining the tradition, we need to ensure that this budget is passed into law before the end of the year.
2024 appropriation bill to be passed Saturday, 30th December.
Official laying and passage of the budget will be slated for Saturday, 30th December 2023. In between all other activities.
Plus, Ogun Assembly passes bill stipulating a 5-year jail term for land grabbers.
Any security or law enforcement personnel, private security used by any means to violate the provision of this law shall, on conviction, be liable to 5 years imprisonment or fine of 3 million naira or both.
A very warm welcome to NTA Parliamentary News, reaching you from the nation's capital city, Abuja. I am John Yaku. As the National Assembly sustains efforts to see to the passage of the 2024 appropriation bill before the end of this month, standing committees have commenced submission of reports before the Committee on Appropriations. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
As the joint committees of the Senate and House of Representatives round off budget defense engagements with the various ministries, departments and agencies of government on the 2024 proposals, activities have shifted to the Appropriations Committee, which is saddled with ensuring finishing touches to the budget before presentation to plenary for passage. The committee emphasizes the resolve of Parliament to stick to the January to December budget cycle.
From January 1st to December 31st of every year. And this 10th Senate or 10th National Assembly, we do not intend to change the tradition. We want to sustain the tradition. And in sustaining the tradition, we need to ensure that this budget is passed into law before the end of the year. And that is what we are working to.
There is high collaboration between the executive up initio, even when the budget was being prepared. So I think most of it will be just crossing the T's and dotting the I's and doing some arithmetic.
Some chairmen of standing committees that presented their harmonized budget reports solicited for increased capital funding to have desired impact.
Tourism cannot even make a simple hop with the amount of money allocated to it. If we want tourism to be a driving force in Nigeria, it needs a lot more funding than it's getting.
Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission should be treated as a standalone agency, having its own budget and not funded under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The committee therefore approved the insertion of 5 new line items to the capital budget.
Provision of 47 million to 4.3 billion, to me, is a quantum leap. Okay, what we need to do is to segment the capital needs into short-term and medium-term.
The exercise will hopefully be concluded before the end of this week. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas says the 2024 appropriation bill will be passed on Saturday, December 30th, 2023. At the resumption of plenary, the Speaker mandated all standing committees of the House to submit reports of budget defense to the Committee on Appropriations. National Assembly correspondent Mitai Rekben reports.
The race to pass the 2024 budget in record time is on, with high hopes for the appropriation bill to become law on or before the new year.
Official laying and passage of the budget will be slated for Saturday, 30th December 2023. In between all other activities like harmonization and compilation and processing of the bill will take place.
Following separate motions, the House mandated its Committee on Port and Harbors to investigate gaps in Nigeria's maritime sector and also called on the Inspector General of Police to avoid further delay in effecting the promotion of qualified policemen.
The cost of exporting 100 tons of cargo in Nigeria is $35,000, compared to Ghana, $4,000.
To urge the Inspector General of Police to immediately implement the recommendation of the Police Service Commission in 2023 with respect to the promotion of the concerned men and officers of the Nigerian police force.
Also adopted were resolutions seeking protection of communities along the eastern borders from Cameroonian invaders.
There is a high-level threat and security concern in Okwa community, Boki local government area. The House calls on the President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to deploy military forces to Okwa community, ensuring the protection of Nigerian territorial integrity and the safety of its citizens.
An urgent need to intervene in incident killing and kidnapping by bandits in harmful communities in Enugu East issues of Federal Constitution of Enugu State.
Meanwhile, the Chairman House Committee on Information has made a case for more budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Information and National Orientation to effectively fulfill its mandate.
2.59 billion naira, a very low budget, considering the role the media and information ministry are to play in this country.
He says zero allocation to some agencies in the ministry needs to be looked into by the executive arm of government. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikmen, NTA News.
Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas says swift passage of the bill on gender equal opportunity is one of the priorities of the 10th Assembly, promising to ensure oversight of government institutions for compliance with the national gender policy. This was contained in a message he sent to the Wealth and Empowerment for Women Initiative Stakeholders Conference organized by the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. Amina Saidu has details.
The chairman said these two parastatals are key places for empowering women, advocacy and capacity building. Therefore, proper funding is imperative at all times.
We came for you to assist us on the issue of budget. Help us out and see how we can get it done. We plead for your indulgence to please give us a little time after the budget issue, and we will have a date to bring everything you need.
For a center that wants to train women across the whole nation to have a budget of about 800 million, that is highly ridiculous. And we are thinking of empowering our women, training them to ensure that they have enough vocational training so that they can be self-reliant.
The budget defense for the Ministry of Women Affairs was, however, stepped down for what the committee described as lack of proper coordination and inability to present some relevant documents.
It's our own ministry. It's our ministry, and we will not leave it to you just like that. We will do everything we can to help you.
But of essence, I want to say that cohesion among you as a team is cardinal for success of this particular ministry. Because of the importance of the women and girls that we are looking at as a focus, I want us to see how this committee can still find a middle point.
Stakeholders expressed the hope to work on modalities and chart a course of action to prefer solutions for effective performance. From the National Assembly, Amina Saidu, NTA News.
Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibril, says research and innovation are essential to strengthen democracy in Nigeria. While hosting the management staff of the Nasarawa State University, Senator Barau says Nigeria has, since the return to democratic governance 24 years ago, recorded progress in several areas.
Really go into research about our democracy to bring in innovations that will help to strengthen our democracy, and not only confine yourself within the borders of Nigeria. I'm sure our neighbors will like to come in and study in universities, particularly that things are now going not the way we want, where you have military incursions, within our border, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and so on and so forth.
The Vice Chancellor of Nasarawa State University said the visit is to seek collaboration with the National Assembly, as the university has now established Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies to encourage research on democracy and legislative practices.
We are also going to provide knowledge to postgraduate students through part-time, through online models, to also acquire knowledge on legislative and democratic practice.
A former clerk of the National Assembly, Salisu Mai Kaswa, has been appointed as the director of the institute. We pause now for some messages. The news continues shortly. Stay with us.
Are you looking for a short channel to make your business, goods and services go viral? Look no further, as NTA Parliament is your short channel. Take advantage of our wider reach and advertise your products and services on NTA Parliament DSTV channel 370, GoTV channel 126, StarTimes channel 306, and Free TV channel 706. For more inquiries, contact the marketing department, NTA Parliament, NTA Headquarters Area 11 Garki Abuja, or call these numbers 080-383-40464 or 080-770-78055. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Welcome back. Moving on, the Joint Committee on Niger Data Affairs has invited the Minister of Finance alongside that of the Niger Data Affairs to appear before it for clarification on non-release of funds to the ministry for execution of capital projects as appropriated in 2023 budget. The Joint Committee took the decision after observing poor performance in 2023 budget appraisal of the ministry presented by the Minister Abubakar Momo during 2024 budget defense. National Assembly correspondent Issa Muhammad has details.
Other issues raised during the 2024 budget defense were oil theft, vandalism of government infrastructure, abandoned projects, recruitment process, and capacity building.
The Ministry of Niger Data is an interventionist ministry. It's not one of those ministries charged with the responsibility of the core mandate of doing certain things.
The country wants to have maximum and effective running of this ministry.
Why don't we look at these nice states? Take 4 in Edo, put 2 in Imo, put 3 here, put 1 here, put 2 here, complete it.
Meanwhile, Minister of Police Affairs Ibrahim Gaido, alongside Inspector General Police, took turns to defend the 2024 budget of the ministry.
Still talking on the possibility of increasing the overhead costs and the capital expenditure. It will go a long way in helping us in achieving the renewed hope of Mr. President's agenda.
May I also seize this opportunity to renew the assurances of my firm determination to continue to synergize with the two committees towards the repositioning of the Nigerian police force to attain our commonly held vision of a stable internal security order in year 2024 and beyond.
We acknowledge that their need to improve their funding and curtail security challenges, ensure sufficient operational capabilities, and enhance the officers' welfare.
We in the National Assembly will do the needful to ensure the necessary budget heads and sub-heads receive adequate sum, bearing in mind the physical constraint and financial challenges confronting the government vis-à-vis enormous task of providing security for the lives and property of Nigerians.
The Police Affairs Committee thereafter promised to support police and enhance its welfare and working condition to effectively discharge its mandate. In the meantime, the House of Representatives Committee on Legislative Compliance, headed by Yusuf Badao, has been inaugurated. From the National Assembly, Issa Muhammad, NTA News.
In his quest to walk the path of redesigning the outlook of Nigeria to the outside world, Nigeria is targeting annual revenue generation in millions of dollars if the cultural potential of the creative industry can be fully harnessed. This was the submission of the Minister of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy while defending the proposed appropriations of the ministry for the year 2024. National Assembly correspondent Joshua Gunije tells us more on this and other inaugural interactive session with the CBN Governor.
With 67% budget performance of year 2023, the Senate Committee is interested in the roadmap, aspirations, and projections for year 2024.
That figure should be separated to the different ministries: information and national orientation, culture, arts, culture, and creative economy, and tourism. They should separate them and give them their own.
Defending the proposed 2024 budget estimate of 6.7 billion naira and revenue projection of 700 million naira, the minister, Anatu Musawa, said the ministry is capable of promoting the arts and crafts industry through specialized exhibitions, expos, and others.
This is really the roadmap. Like I said, it's the economic growth, it's about job creation, it's about capacity building, it's about repositioning Nigeria, and so many other things that we can do in terms of harnessing the culture and creativity of Nigeria. But that can only be done with the financial support.
The committee agrees with the ministry on the exigency of establishment of National Museum, National Theatre and National Gallery in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Meanwhile, the 10th National Assembly's Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions held its maiden interactive session with the delegation of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We would like you to explain to us as to how you want to balance your monetary policy stance.
Inflation pressures may persist in the short term, but is expected to decline in 2024. Exchange rate pressures are also expected to reduce significantly with a smooth functioning of the foreign exchange market.
The deliberation also extends to issues bordering on economic development and growth, cash supply in the system, global crude oil prices, and strategies CBN is employing to salvage the situation. From the National Assembly, Joshua Ogujide, NTA News.
Chairman House Committee on Women Affairs Kafilat Ogbara has made a case for adequate funding of women and social development sector for the society to address major social problems affecting the nation. The call was made during a budget defense by the management of Mariam Babangida National Center for Women Development and the Ministry of Women Affairs. Amina Seidu has details.
Women from all sectors of the society converged to discuss issues relating to women empowerment, with access to education, health, and wealth creation. Chairman House Committee on Women Affairs Kafilat Ogbara said striving for women empowerment entails sustainability of policies and initiatives.
It is not enough to simply provide short-term solutions. We must ensure that our efforts have a long-term impact and contribute to the overall well-being of women and the society at large. This requires a holistic approach that takes into account environmental, economic, and social factors.
The empowerment of women is part of nation building. When the women are empowered, they contribute to their families and have the capacity to play a formidable role.
The theme of the conference, Women Empowerment and Sustainable Policy Document, highlights challenges faced by women, collaborative efforts towards prosperity, as well as inclusiveness in governance.
Let us focus more on where we move our country forward. When we empower women sustainably, you have empowered the nation.
If we want to take over, if you're talking about social liberation, if you're talking about economic liberation, if you're talking about political participation, it's not something that will be handed over to anybody on a platter of gold.
Some policies by the We Win initiative will include programs to develop women in technology, Women Feed the Nation for those in rural areas, and mentorship for youths. From the National Assembly, Amina Seidu, NTA News.
The National Assembly's Joint Committee on Petroleum, Downstream, Upstream and Gas is tasking ministers overseeing such resources to take action towards reviving abandoned oil exploration efforts, mitigating climate change and rate at which multinational companies are leaving the country. This was during the 2024 budget defense by the Minister of State before the Joint Committee. National Assembly correspondent Issa Muhammad has details.
Other issues at the top of discussion during the budget defense are putting oil refineries in good shape, environmental degradation, global warming, implementation of Petroleum Act, stemming oil thefts, and use of general gas as alternative to petroleum on how it affects Nigerians and revenue generation.
We seem to forget that we handed over the refineries, drilling, exploration, everything about the oil to NNPC. NNPC will come here to even show us their budget. Then most questions I think we will ask, and all these our worries will be answered.
We want a Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources that will not only be robust, it must be vibrant and proactive to be able to also compete shoulder to shoulder with the global terrain that is going in the oil and gas sector.
We are really challenged to ensure that we have a certain environment in as much as we must continue to take advantage of our fossil fuels.
The whole essence of the PIA was to make NNPC a commercially viable company. So they could make profit for Nigeria, like the Aramcos, like the one in Brazil, and all that. And so it's not meant to be captured in this budget. There's nothing about refinery rehabilitation that will be contained in the government budget. It's entirely the business of NNPC Limited, and they are raising money through the private sector as a company to be able to do the rehabilitation.
Meanwhile, the chairman Police Service Commission, Sunday Arase, and the commandant of the Police Training College, Wudil, Kano State, Idris Sadiq, have attributed success of the Nigerian police force in combating crimes and criminalities to effective funding of the commission and the college for further strengthening the force for effective service delivery.
The hearts and minds of the people must be carried along. And we are determined in the Police Service Commission that when we are talking about oversight function, that is one of the oversight functions we do. So that there must be consequences for crime.
Mounted programs and training that will make them live up to this expectation. The leadership training in Syracuse, Jos, and the combat training at one of the mobile police training colleges are examples. The cost of training and transportation and feeding of the cadets while in training are skyrocketed.
To address this financial independence and a lot of issues which you have enumerated during our meeting with the Senate President.
The committee assured the police of quality legislation that will provide enabling opportunities for the force to thrive. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has mandated the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to provide necessary relief materials to the families of victims and survivors of the Tudumbiri bombing in Kaduna State to ameliorate their sufferings. Adopting a motion by the Representative Omar Shehu Ajilo, the House observed a minute's silence in honor of the victims and resolved to constitute a committee to visit and condole the affected families.
Mr. Speaker, this House must rise to the occasions to ensure that this marks the end of this series of unfortunate mistakes. To mandate the Committee of Army to investigate the unfortunate incident with a view to assessing the damage done, ensuring adequate compensations of the victims and survivors.
In another development, the House at the Committee of the Whole considered and approved the recommendations of the Committee on Public Service Matters to extend the retirement age of staff of the National Assembly Service Commission to 65 years and 40 years of service.
It is pertinent to note that whereas the bill had interpreted the meaning of the National Assembly Service in Clause 4 to mean National Assembly Service and National Assembly Service Commission, the committee included the National Assembly Trust Fund to the interpretation of the service under the National Assembly, since the Trust Fund was recently created by an act of the National Assembly as one of the institutions under the National Assembly Service Commission.
The bill was sponsored by House Deputy Minority Leader Aliu Madaki. The Ogun State House of Assembly has passed a bill stipulating a 5-year jail term for land grabbers and other related offences. The lawmakers also passed for executive assent a bill on state legislative fund management. State Assembly correspondent Yemi Dalemo reports on this and other engagements of the state lawmakers.
The Ogun State House of Assembly has passed the amended bill on the prohibition of forcible occupation of landed properties, armed robbery, kidnapping, cultism, other violence and other related offences law 2023 to give stiffer penalties for land grabbers and other violators of the law. The lawmaker also passed the State Legislative Funds Management Law 2023. The amendment process was consequent upon the presentation of the committee report by the Chairman House Committee on Lands and Housing, Honorable Damilola Shuneye, and that of the House Committee on Finance and Appropriation, Honorable Musefiu Lamidi. The bills were later read and adopted clause by clause by the Committee of the Whole before the third reading at the plenary, started over by the Speaker of the House, Olakunle Oluomo, who directed that the clean copies of the bills should be submitted to the State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, for his assent.
Any security or law enforcement personnel, private security used by any means to violate the provision of this law shall, on conviction, be liable to 5 years imprisonment or fine of 3 million naira or both.
That to prepare a new set of the bill with the notation and request for replacement of the said minor secretary to the executive with the new state of the amendment. Those of us who support say aye. Those against say the aye.
The lawmakers, in a bid to make more impactful laws that will directly improve the living conditions of residents of Ogun State, organized a retreat at Wosem area in Agoiwoye, where issues bordering on judicious implementation of the 2024 budgetary allocation to each sector of the state economy was at the front burner. The Speaker, Olakunle Oluomo, called for objective scrutinization of the key components and direction of the state fiscal proposal to ensure that it has meaningful impact on the socio-economic life of the people in line with the House legislative assignments. In Abeokuta, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
That is the size of our bulletin at this time. Remember to log on to NTA Parliament on the platforms on your screen. On behalf of the production crew, many thanks for watching. My name is John Yaku.